The Metroid franchise has been around for a long time. For the past few decades, our adventures with bounty hunter Samus Aran have been filled with tense action, awesome abilities, and some of the most captivating stories in gaming. It makes up one half of the subgenre we know now as Metroidvania, which is, by the way, used to describe platformers relying on multiple abilities to navigate a large, maze-like level that opens up over time with the use of said abilities. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and click on the links in the description to vote on upcoming content. Samus has become an icon not just as a female protagonist, but across the history of video games. With every new game announced, our trigger fingers get itchy for a new galactic adventure. That is not to say the series has gone without a few hiccups along the way, and that's putting it gently. Metroid Prime Federation Force wasn't exactly a terrible game, but a co-op adventure not starring Samus wasn't something that fans had been exactly clamoring for. However, the one game that fans won't ever forget and will regard as still the lowest point in Samus' career is none other than Metroid Other M. Before it was announced, the only Metroid games on the Nintendo Wii were Metroid Prime 3 Corruption and Metroid Prime Trilogy, which included ports of the first two Metroid Prime games. When it was revealed that Team Ninja would be developing the game, many of us were kinda shocked. This would be the first time a major third-party studio would develop a game using the Metroid license. Unfortunately, August 31st, 2010 would be a release date that fans would rue, as the game would unknowingly dumb down basically everything that makes the Metroid series exciting.
Of course, she would have to be alive in order for me to do that.
So, one of the coolest features in a typical Metroid game is the variety of weapons players can access at almost any given time. These power-ups not only give us different playstyles, but they also help us in defeating specific bosses, exploring certain areas of the map, and discovering hidden secrets. If one weapon doesn't work in this particular situation, another one probably will. This is basically the fundamental core of just the whole Metroidvania game genre. Anyway, it also helped keep the player on their toes, managing what limited ammunition they might have and developing strategies with each new power-up. Other M didn't exactly forget the inclusion of power-ups, yet it forgot about their importance in a Metroid game. Rather than give the player freedom to experiment and figure out how they work, they're restricted on when they can be used, which basically doesn't make any sense from a gameplay perspective. Part of what makes Samus so awesome is that she's an intergalactic bounty hunter, kicking alien butt with the coolest gadgets as she travels through the stars. You could almost call her the female equivalent of the Doomslayer with her impressive combat skills, daring feats, and fearless attitude. Seriously, who else manages to escape an exploding facility in almost every game? Sadly, Other M forgot about how cool Samus is, opting for a story where she takes orders from some other dude named Adam Malkovich. Go beat up Ridley, you're not authorized to use that weapon right now, etc, etc. Why does Samus need to listen to this schmuck? She's the bounty hunter, she's the cool one here. She knows how to take out her foes, and she does it with grace and brutality, we've seen it.
Commander Adam Malkovich was normally cool and not one to joke around. But he would end all of his mission briefings by saying, "Any objections, lady?"
However, it doesn't justify the overall design choice. In Other M, everything that makes Samus a good character is stripped away for the sake of giving her a tragic backstory. The problem here is that it doesn't add anything to Samus as we've come to know her. It only makes her seem weaker, more regretful, more submissive.
I would hold fast to that glimmer of hope and try for redemption. That's who I am.
While we're on the subject of narrative, by the way, we want to point out storytelling in Metroid. The franchise hasn't always had the most intricate of plots, but it's proven that it, doesn't need to. We'll never forget the sacrifice of the baby Metroid, but, the genius of that lies in its simplicity. What made it so emotional was that we had spent our whole time fighting Metroids before we met the baby, and in a critical moment, the baby sacrificed itself to save us. The predator has been saved by its very prey. Other M's plot is just kinda messy, but then again, if you played Ninja Gaiden 2 by Team Ninja, that's not really gonna be a surprise. Anyway, as if Samus's portrayal wasn't bad enough, the entire story is told in a cluttered pigsty. It felt like every character had an unnecessary backstory or some random connection to Samus. What's more, the writing is terrible, with characters stating the obvious or making really irrelevant comments. I hear what you're saying to yourself, and it's, so what if I don't like story or ever care about it? I just skip all the cutscenes anyway. Well, friend, you can't. Cutscenes are unskippable, and they drag on for far too long, making the experience even more painful.
What? Stop right there. Who are you?
Outside of the story, Metroid Other M isn't an insanely terrible game in its function. We can't even call it the worst game ever, yet it definitely deserves the title for worst Metroid game. The plot tries way too hard to make us care about its characters, and its moments are all over the place, which makes the game's pacing really uneven. Plus, it seems to forget all of the key elements that make it, a Metroid game. Other M actually wasn't a game that critics generally disliked. The fans, on the other hand, were definitely not happy with how it turns out. Thankfully, Metroid Prime 4 is technically on the horizon. And with Metroid Samus Returns being basically a masterpiece, we can't wait to see what's in store for our favorite bounty hunters' next adventure. Let's hope it doesn't force us to reboot this video, though.
Sorry for keeping you waiting, Adam. Let's go home.
Thanks for watching Mojo Plays. Be sure to subscribe and click on the link in the description below to check out our suggestion page and vote on what content you'd like to see us cover next.